All right, let's check out another video here by Martel Metellus. This is a great video. I've talked to you guys about how all of Scripture is a letter from a father to his son. And he says that, my son, give me your heart and your eyes follow my ways. And in essence, Scripture is telling us it's a letter from God to man saying, listen to my instructions and do what I do. And so in this video, we're going to watch how a son is responding to the things that his father taught him. A lot of really good stuff in here. One of the things that he talks about in some of his videos, which is really good, is the first woman that you have to overcome in your life is your mother. And I don't know that he explicitly says it in here, but it is true that basically women in their fallen state will naturally have a tendency to turn their sons against their fathers, and will not only do that, they will try to discredit the father to their sons, or to the sons, and they will also try to turn the sons into their own, make them in their own image, so to speak, make idols out of their sons. And what they do is they create a man out of their son that they think that would be the perfect man in their eyes, but this version of a man isn't even attractive to them once they get it. So the woman wants, the nice guy who cooks and cleans and does all this, but then they despise him when they have him. So what a mother will do is she'll create sons in her image to be this perfect version of a guy that she has envisioned in her head and her imagination. And then what happens is she creates this man that no other woman wants. What happens is he gets married and he cooks and he cleans and he waits on his wife hand and foot, and then she cheats on him and divorces him. And he doesn't know why, because his mom raised him to be this good boy. But in reality, this is a man that she says she would want, but she really wouldn't want. So she creates a very defective man, and she creates the man in her image, very much marring what God said was, God made the man in his image. We are to be in our father's image, and our wife is to be in our image. Okay, so it's a complete perversion of the order of things, and she will create an idol out of her son, but she'll create this idol in her image to be this man that she thinks that she wants, and she'll give him all the wrong advice. But anyways, enough for me. Let's get into this and see what he's got going on here.
About women at a very young age. And to be honest, the stuff that he was teaching me when I was young, I thought he was a villain. I didn't believe anything that he was saying because it sounded so outlandish at that time. Because I was imprinted by my own mom, right? I thought my mom was the angel, my dad was the devil. My dad's just telling me this stuff. My mom knows best because she's a woman, so obviously she's gonna she's gonna tell me a lot about what women truly want. But it was opposite, right? My mom was telling me what women ideally want, but they don't necessarily accept in reality. I started to learn that as I got older, as I was implementing what my mom was saying and I was not getting the results that I wanted. And I'd go to her and be like, Mom, you told me to do this and this happened. And she was like, oh, she might just be a bad one. My dad would just laugh on the side and look at me and say, Martel, you got a lot to learn, man. You still not listening to what I told you before? And it's crazy. And I give the utmost respect to my dad, because my dad...
It's an old saying, you never go to a fish to find out what... You don't go to a fish to learn how to catch fish, because fish don't want to be caught. And the whole nature of woman is you have to get it. She can't explain it to you. So if she's explaining it to you if she's explaining to you what she wants and you become that, she's just now manipulated and controlled you, and you're not respectable. So they do this to their sons.
And my mom have been together for over 25 years, probably 30 years at this point. And for a man to be able to command that level of loyalty to a woman, despite losing his mental capacity at a certain point through a brain aneurysm, and watching my mom pick up the slack and work for everybody while he couldn't. He literally forgot who he was for a certain period of time. seeing my dad like go through the process and like show me how it really was to be a man in this world gave me so much clarity in life as I got older, as I started to remember everything that he told me. When I stopped rejecting what he said, thinking that he was a villain, and I started to embrace everything that he said. And I'll tell you some of those things that he told me as well. But my dad, again, he has a lot of proof because before my mom, he had harems of women all the time in the Haitian village. Man, this dude was a G. Like he was out. He was doing his thing. Everyone talked about my dad. Everyone talked about my dad was that guy. And my mom was also that woman. Like my mom literally had the pick of the century. Like doctors, lawyers, everybody was going for my mom. She stayed with my dad. And I started to realize that like this whole masculinity stuff, like the reason why a lot of men are lost right now is because they're born with single mothers. They don't have a father figure. And I was fortunate enough to have that so I could learn a lot of these things, especially about women. I remember one of the things he said that stuck with me. He was like, Martel, like always look at what a woman does. Don't ever believe what she says. Women.
Here's another thing. Women cannot raise men. They cannot raise boys to become men. Only a man can raise a boy to become a man. The other thing too is it takes a man to make a woman. So you'll find this in studies that they've proven that children, boys and girls that are raised by a single father turn out just as good as a two-parent home. But when a single mom raises children, the rate of suicide, drug abuse, prison, all those things go through the roof. So the man has the X and the Y chromosome. He's got both the male and the female chromosome. It takes a man to raise a woman. It takes a man to raise up and train up a woman. It takes a man to turn a boy into a man. So think about that here in what he's saying.
Will lie to make themselves feel better. And I remember demonizing. I'm like, oh, so you're calling mom a liar? And I was like, why would you call mom a liar? He's like, listen, the reality is your mom is not lying. She's just doing what she thinks is right. She's saying what she thinks is right. But I know, judging by her actions, how she actually is. I know how to handle her based on what I've seen over the decades that we've been together. I've seen that. And every time I would have a woman around, he would be like, Martel, watch what she does, not what she says. And time after again, that truth would ring for me. I would always watch what they do. And everything they said could be the complete opposite of what they're doing. And that would allow for me to stay a couple steps ahead. Now, with my dad, it's interesting because he always, and a lot of the Haitian dads, or just even, like male figures in your family in general, especially when it comes to the foreign side, they always think about like have multiple women, always have like 5 or 6 women around. And I remember my dad telling me, he was like, Martel, do that at a young age. Get that shit out of your system. But find one. Don't think that she's going to stay around forever because you always have to get better over time. You always have to keep improving. You always have to keep striving for more. You cannot stay stagnant. But keep that one. Don't fuck around when you get older. Because all of that, and he's a very religious guy. He was a pastor, right? And so he was like, look, Martel, I've been with your mom for the last 30 years. I've never cheated. And me and my dad got super tight. So like he'd tell me things. Like he told me I used to smoke weed. I used to do this. I used to do that. His experiences with different women and stuff. And he was like, look, when I got with your mom, I never cheated. Because that's something that I have to deal with God. And I already made an agreement that I would never do that. It's not like we didn't make an agreement. We made an agreement. As a man, you follow your word. It doesn't matter how other women look. He was like, all women, they all have their own issues. They all have their own problems. Never take a woman as perfection because no woman is perfect.
And this is even what Ephesians 5 says, that it is the job of a husband to create a spotless and blameless bride and to clean her up and to make a spotless and blameless bride presentable unto the Lord. This is the job of a husband. So just as 2 Timothy 3:16 says all scripture is God breathed, the word is God breathed for the purpose of correction, instruction, and reproof in to training up a man in righteousness. This is the job. Even the word nourish in Ephesians 5, that a man is to nourish his wife, means to train up. The only other place that this is used in scripture is talking about how you raise children, to train them up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Okay. No woman comes out of the box perfected. That's your job. A father can only go so far in raising up his daughter. He can only go so far in doing that. The next step is the intimate relationship with her husband, is where the relationship grows to the next level. So he's absolutely spot on here. If you're thinking that you're going to find a woman who's grown up in a Christian household and she's not going to present you with any problems, you're fooling yourself. You've set yourself up with poor expectations. You have to understand that she was designed to push back. She was designed to test your strength. She was designed to expose you, to find all the cracks in your cistern, so that she's going to find everything out about you. She's going to first and foremost show you to you. She's going to let you see in real time the kind of leadership that you bring to the table.
All women are walking headaches. You just got to pick the one that gives you the least amount of headaches, that you can understand, that can support you, that can help you on your journey. That's what you want. If you don't have that, if there's no congruency in that, you're always going to lose. And he was like, you always have to have a good relationship with God, because if you put God first, and I didn't listen to this for a while, right? For a while, I didn't put God first because I didn't like the religious dogma and everything, but there's truth in that. You put God first. You serve God, right? Women will follow because you're the leader. Because as a man, and my dad told me this and it was so powerful, he was like, look, in a relationship as a man, you never look to women for advice most of the time for your life. And nobody else is going to tell you anything. Nobody cares about you as a man. Nobody cares. Women don't care. They can care about you as their person, but your internal struggles, all the things that you go through, the only person that's ever going to give you divine guidance is God. That's the only person you can go to in this
And your
life,
brothers.
is God. That's it. That's the only person that can give you some divine order and tell you and give you some insights on what you need to be doing if you have a good relationship with God, which will make your relationship way more smooth if you can put God first. If you don't put God first, you will always fail. The woman will always leave you because you don't have a sense of leadership, because you don't have something, you don't have a divine order.
Basically, as I've explained in my other videos, that the man must become like God, small g, God. You must take on God's character, and that's what keeps a woman's attraction for a lifetime, is you literally being a God in her life. And this is, a whole nother video on women should not read scripture. Your wife, I don't believe she should be trying to learn it and read it and learn it and interpret it by herself. I believe that you should be teaching her what God's word said. That is your job. And understanding that if you don't learn from God how to be like him and take on his character, you will find yourself divorced. You will find yourself unloved. You will find yourself in a world of hurt, broken families, exchanging children, seeing your wife with another man, and your children calling another man daddy. That's what's in store for you. If Look, God's character is what is desired in the heart of a woman from birth. It's instilled in her. She will look for it, even if it comes in the form of perversion. That's why you see so many women that are lesbians that are attracted to dominant butch women, because they personify some aspect of God's character that has been absent in their life, whether from their father or from their husband or boyfriends, whatever. And if a man, this is absolutely true. I've seen strong men attract butch women, butch lesbian women, I've seen them attract them because this is the vacuum that they have not experienced true masculinity. Women are drawn women are drawn to strong masculine men. They want a man who's like God. And so you have to learn how to be like him. And the only way you can do that is by following him, by reading about him and doing as he does.
that you can channel to be able to help you. He's like, you're always a vessel. You're always giving. You're giving to the woman. You're giving to life. You're working. You're doing all these things. You're giving your energy. He said, as a man, you have to be able to refill that energy. You can't refill that energy from somebody else. He said, women refill their energy from you. They always refill their energy from you. But you have to refill your energy from God, because that's the only source that can give you energy. He always told me, he was like, I never trust atheists. I'll never ever be with a woman who doesn't believe in God. Because the minute that you do that, she has no moral compass. She will go do whatever it is that she wants to do. Because there's no reckoning in her mind.
She'll do that without
There's
leadership.
no consequence. And I learned that because I did date women who didn't believe in God. And it was true. They had no moral compass. Everything they did was justified. It's crazy. And he would tell me all these things. He would go into like sexual things. Like, what do? You have to be dominant. And I would be like, Dad, you sound like a villain. Why would I want to be dominant and say like, oh, like you're mine, like claim her, do all of these things. Women want to be claimed, like do that. And again, my dad was not aggressive. He never hit my mom. Never seen my dad lay a hand on my mom ever, no matter how mad she made him. He just laughed that shit. He would get mad and then he'd just start laughing. He'd be like, what the fuck?
Guys, isn't it interesting that in the Old Testament, the woman was the property of the man? And today we look at that and we're like, oh, that's horrible. But think about it. Like, I care for my house, I care for my car, I care for my children, I care for the things that are I care for my health, my body, my teeth, my eyes, everything. If I had a Lamborghini, would I go drop it off in the hood and leave it, parked on the curb in the hood? No. It's because that's my car. You don't leave things that are precious to you parked in the hood. You know what I mean? Possession. Women want to feel possessed by a man. They do. They're not going to tell you this. They're going to tell you the opposite, but they want to be possessed by a masculine man, the man who has proven that he is a strong, capable, competent, congruent leader. That's the man that they want to possess them. That they want to be possessed by that guy. They want to be literally engulfed by that man. They want to be possessed by him. Like, that man can come home from work, come up and kiss her on the neck and pull her into the bedroom and have his way with her. That's what the love romance novels are all about, is a man possessing a woman. You guys gotta think about this. Like, it's only in modern times that we look at stuff and we're like, oh, that's crazy. A man possessing a woman, that's controlling. That's chauvinistic. That's misogynistic. No, it's biblical. It's patriarchal is what it is.
He'd be like, why do I even care? He'd look at me, he'd be like, Martel, do you see this? And my mom would get mad. And I would notice these different things. And he just taught me like how to deal with it. And I never ever believed anything that he said until I got older, until I started to see all of these truths that he was saying was correct. Until when I started being with 5 or 6 women at a time, my whole life would be chaotic. I'd feel like my energy was drained. And then when I would stick with one, if I stuck with a bad one, it would completely ruin my life. If I got with a pretty good one, a pretty solid one, I don't want to say good, but solid, my life would go up. And I would always talk to my dad and he'd start chuckling. He'd be like, remember what I told you back when you were 12 and you didn't believe me? How is all of that panning out? And I'm like, Dad, you were 100% right. Like, I used to be the guy like, oh, the lover, right? Like, you bring flowers on the first date. My mom told me. My mom was like, oh, Martel, go bring flowers on the first date. It's like the most romantic thing you could do. My dad would sit back, start laughing and say, Mon Dieu, which means good God. Like, and then he would literally say like, Why would you ever bring something on the first? She hasn't proven herself to you. Why would you bring anything on the first date? And I remember as I started learning these different things, my whole relationships got different. Like my whole viewpoints on women got different. Sexually, it became way easy. It became easy for me to like dominate in that field and like have the woman like feel attached because of like all of the principles he taught me, and there's deeper things he taught me in terms of specific eye contact you do and all. Like my dad was an OG when it came to this stuff, and he would break down some of the most visceral, taboo topics to me. And at the time, I thought he was literally the devil incarnated, even though he was a pastor. I'm like, bro, you're crazy. And as I started to slowly implement things, it worked. My dad always instilled in me, Martell, you want to get women attracted to you, get in shape. My dad used to bodybuild. My dad had vascular, he's 5'9", I'm 6'2". I got a pretty good, I got the tall gene from my mom. My mom's 5'7". Now, my dad always looked like a superhero. Like I literally loved seeing my dad come back from the gym, crazy pump. He put some French cologne on. He picked my mom up. He would just act crazy, and like he just didn't care. He just lived his life. He would say things that would piss my mom off, but I would see my mom look at him a certain way, like, I love you even more.
Yeah.
At least you're honest.
Yep.
He would say that. He would say, oh, you got to walk more. If my mom started like looking a little different, he'd be like, you got to start walking more. Not looking the way that I remembered. Like he would be very, very viscerally honest. And he just didn't give a fuck. Didn't care. Just lived his life. Lived life as best as he could. And he had a very loyal woman by his side. And a lot of people will sit here and say that shit doesn't exist. And I say, it might actually exist.
The man makes a woman's
the man
loyalty.
That's worth being loyal to.
Yep. It takes a man to make a loyal woman. A masculine man that commands respect. Women don't want to lose a good thing. And women will never leave something they're chasing. Look, your wife should be chasing you the rest of your life, chasing after your approval, your validation, your attention, all those things. And if she's chasing you, she ain't gonna be cheating on you. 100%. That the man makes the woman. So if you've got a woman who's not loyal, something's wrong with you.
You may say, well, no woman is loyal forever. Of course not. You have to keep getting better over time. And one thing my dad told me as well, he said, Martell, never think love is forever. Love is fleeting. Love is not real. Love is an emotion that goes away over time. And I didn't believe this when I was young. I'd always say, Dad, love is real. You see Disney, because I used to watch fucking Disney and Nickelodeon and shit. And they would have all these love stories and all that shit. And I would believe it. My dad literally was like, Martell, because he would watch it with me. He'd sit there and he'd just laugh. He'd say, Martell, this is not real. Love is just an emotion. Loyalty is a decision that you make every single day. You make that decision, the woman makes that decision every single day. And your job as a man is to make it undeniable for a woman to have her loyalty for just you. Every single day you have to prove that shit. And I remember even looking when he had his brain aneurysm, my dad literally could not work. He couldn't do anything. And you would think, well, a man who stops making money, a man who loses all of his physique, all of his shape, well, now the woman's gone. My mom stayed and took care of him even more. My mom went and worked 3 jobs while my dad was literally sitting on the bed like his head would be inflamed, could barely remember his name. I'll never forget that shit. And my dad literally told me, he was like, the only thing that you need to worry about is whenever you're down, always bounce back. And he did that. Bounced back and got a business administration degree at ASU quick, just like that. Just like that. I watched my dad move from Haiti. He was a big professor in Haiti at a university, lost his degree, came here when I was 4. I didn't have my dad till I was 4 years old, 5 years old. And I remember him coming and the whole presence of the house changed. Everything changed. My mom was just like, whoa. And my dad just was this walking force. Everyone loved my dad. My dad was the most social person in the world, but he also held boundaries with people. He didn't care who you were. He didn't care if you were the president of the United States. You talk shit to him, he's going to do something. He's going to react. And he always said, Martell, Don't let people walk on you. Don't let women walk on you. Check them. Don't check them physically, but check them psychologically. Check them with how you see it. Check them with what you've observed. And I would always take this in, man. Like, and that's why I think a lot of men, you see a lot of men who hit women. I always ask my dad, I'm like, I hear these things about guys hitting their wives and stuff like that. Why do you think that is? And I remember him saying, because Martel, they're hyper emotional beings. They're hyper emotional when it comes to women. They love hard. And they also, when they have anger, they lean into that anger and they lose control and they attack the woman because they're hyper emotional. He said, always, and I keep this to this day. I forgot that I got this from him, but I remember him telling me, he was like, Martel, stay away from hyper emotional people. Hyper emotionality is for women, not for men. Women are hyper emotional. Men should never be hyper emotional. You should always have your emotions in check. You should never ever feel like you need to hit a woman. You should never feel like you need to inflict any sort of violence towards a woman whatsoever.
That's weakness.
And he lived by that completely. My dad didn't spank me a lot when I was young. He only did it because my mom would tell him to. He'd be like, oh, okay, take out the belt. I know I'm fucked. I'm like, man, I gotta. He said, go to the room. I go to the room, man. It's a wrap for me. My dad hit me. It was wrath. It's brutal. But he taught me a lot, man. He taught me a lot about this life. And I will say, the reason why I had a lot of pitfalls with women, even with humans, with business, with everything, is because I didn't take those lessons seriously until I started to actually try them in micro details and started to see real results happen. Now, my dad is hyper religious. Me and him, we don't see eye to eye with the way that he looks at religion, right? Of course, there's differences. But I do know my dad has significant respect for me because I lived my own life since 19. I took my own burdens. I paid my way through as much as I possibly could. I never asked my parents for $1. I always made things work, and my dad was very, very proud to see that. And it's funny because there would be times I would bring women home, or like, you know, I would show my dad some women. He'd be like, nope, she's cooked, she's done. He's like, you're gonna see. I remember, I'll never forget when I told my dad about this woman, and he asked me some questions. And he was like, Martel, I'm giving you 1 year. And I kid you not, bro, after 1 year, broke completely down. I'm telling you, fellas, if you didn't have a father at home, at least take some of the things that I'm telling you now, as basic as they may sound, they actually help. But I had a father at home that was teaching me that I was rejecting because I was feminized growing up. Because I was with my mom for 5 years. My dad was never there. Because my dad was getting stuck trying to come to the United States. He tried as fast as he could to come to the United States. He had to handle some things in Haiti with his papers, with everything. But once he showed up, it was a completely different energy. Oh. But that's the craziest thing that I've learned, man. That's the craziest thing that I've learned. I had an emergency alert. But if that's something that you have in your life, if you have a father that genuinely teaches you things, and he's a good role model. Like my dad, big. I didn't understand my dad. Why? I said this. I was like, Dad, why did you just stay with my mom the whole time if you had all these different options? And he was like, because women are headaches. I only want one headache in my life. I'm good. I had to have you. So I needed a headache. And I was like, oh shit, okay. But it's crazy because when I started to live and grow, I started to realize that, right? And that's why even in my relationship, I don't cheat. I don't even have a desire to, because every woman that I see is a walking headache. I tell my girls this all the time. It's like, do you ever look at other women? I'm like, other women look like headaches to me. I don't care how good they look. I like you because you're the least headache I could possibly have. You literally make my life better in every which way.
Here's something that's really fascinating. I'm going to build upon what he's saying here. That when you have a woman that you have poured yourself into, meaning that you have learned to become a man because of her, meaning that you cut your teeth on her, like you learned about yourself through her. And not only did you become a man, being with her, but you turned her into the woman that she is. You fathered her. There's something really special about that. I'm telling you, there's nothing like it in the world. Like, my wife is like a precious, like, she's like a daughter and a wife. It's weird. There's aspects of her that I've trained her to be the woman that she is. I've brought her up. I've I've cleaned her up and made her into this amazing woman, and she's like in some instances, she's like this precious little girl that, like, she's gotten healing from all of her childhood traumas. She's become this beautiful, sweet, soft woman, and I made that. Like, that's because of me that she is the woman that she is. It creates a sense of bond, and not just a bond, but a sense of loyalty that is like unlike anything else. So it's not just the headache. Yeah, the headache is part of it, but that transitions into, you've built something amazing. You have brought healing to the little girl in her, and made her into this amazing woman. You transitioned her from a girl to a woman, and you learned from being a boy how to be a man by watching yourself through her actions. It's quite powerful.
Shape or form. You may have your mood swings, you may have some emotional ups and downs, all women do. But it's a net positive at the end of the day. And I remember my dad telling me that. He was like, Martel, as long as it's a net positive, as long as she believes in God, as long as she has a good family unit, as long as she has a strong connection to her father, to her mother, you're on good terms. And my mom was the same. My mom was with my grandfather. My grandfather was literally behind my dad. Like, if anything, sometimes I put him pretty much at the same rate because he was literally like my role model. My mom, very connected with my grandfather, always talking to my grandfather, always talking to my grandmother. Always. My grandfather passed away. Rest in peace to him. It was the worst day of my life.
Okay, the only caveat I would give to this is you have to be careful the enmeshed families where the woman is getting her advice and and this is the point of getting to know a woman. In this day and age, there is no betrothal process or courting process. You're going to have to date women, but you're going to have to see if she will gravitate to your orbit and take instruction, correction, and reproof from you, and not go to her mom and run to her mom and dad. You're gonna have to set boundaries, like, hey, um, you're gonna have to set boundaries and see if she'll abide by those boundaries, because it's not okay for her to go talk, bad about you to her parents and things like that. So you're gonna have to pay attention to those things. Um, so there are a lot of families, what they would call good families are nothing more than enmeshed families, where literally the mother-in-law is running your home from outside your home, or the dad is running your home from outside the home. So that is a caveat there that I wanted to throw out.
Well, I don't cry very much at all. I cried for a whole week, right? And my grandmother is the same thing. Like, great relationship with my grandmother, with her mom. Took care of my uncles and aunts. Was very caring. My dad told me, he was like, that's what I looked at. I saw your mom taking care of her siblings, and I realized that she's a good one. And he said, I went all in. And I didn't care. If things didn't work, things didn't work. But I wanted to go all in because I knew it was going to be worth it, whether it went well or whether it didn't go well. And he's like, there were times where I questioned, why am I doing this? What's the point? And I always remembered back to what God told me. This is what he said in his words. God told me life was never easy. Relationships are not going to be easy. Love is not real. Love is a feeling. You have to stay committed. It's a test of your commitment every single day. You are tested by other women. She might be tested by other men every single day. And what gets you closer and closer is rejecting those tests every single day. And I didn't understand this until I got older. Until I started getting with women who would fail those tests. Until I started seeing that I was failing those tests because I genuinely didn't want those women. And he told me this. He's like, Martell, life is only going to get harder, but you have to become harder. You have to be hard to kill in this life. You have to look life in the face and laugh at it. When a woman makes you upset, laugh. It's funny as shit. He's like, it's funny as shit. You just laugh it off. Man, that's greatest lessons I've had, man. I can go all day. I can go an hour with everything he's taught me, but I'm already at the 20-minute mark, man. I hope this was valuable for you guys. But I hope you just realize, if you have a father, listen to him, because he knows a lot. Even if he had an unsuccessful relationship, you can learn.
Yeah, Scripture says we've inherited the lies of our fathers. We live in a day and age where 99.9% of us were not taught anything about how to be a man. We had World War I, World War II, where literally whole populations, I mean, the men all went off to war and died, and very few were left to pass on masculinity. This is something that has to be not just passively taught by observation, it has to be actively taught by explaining to our sons the scriptures, explaining to them the importance or the why behind the what, why we do what we do. Not just what we do, but the why is the most important thing. To redeem a woman, you're here to redeem a woman. You are here to be God's representative, whether on 1 square inch or 100 square miles of this earth, whatever form, whatever uh, whatever size and scope of kingship that God has granted you to steward on this earth, that is your job for your time. And then it is your job to pass that on to your sons. It is your job to instill in them the same thing, to teach them about women, so that, I mean, you look at Proverbs talking about, my son, do not give your strength to a woman that brings ruin to kings. You have to understand, female nature in and of itself is not bad, because it teaches us about ourselves and we learn from it. But it's dangerous, to somebody who doesn't know any better. And that's the thing, is in today's day and age, men they don't know anymore. They don't understand. And it also says, my people perish for a lack of understanding. I forgot the verse that talks about men will be ruled over by women and children. That's where we're at today. So anyway, I hope you found this well. I hope this finds you well. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I've got a lot of teachings in the chamber to unleash, but I wanted to get out some of these really good videos and just throw in some scriptural aspects and whatnot. And remember, I'm a 46-year-old man. I'm married to what was a single mother, and we have a total of 8 children together. I had 3 prior, she had 2 prior, and then we have 3 together. And look, I'm teaching you based on, I'm not telling you anything that I haven't done myself. And I've beaten all the odds according to the red pill community. And it comes down to this: any woman can be redeemed. Any woman can be redeemed. Don't buy the lies that you got to have a church girl. Don't look. There's a lot of women out there who need saving, guys. They call them Captain Save a Hose. Call it whatever you want. God has love. God has love for his girls, and he wants you to go out there and save them. I'm not telling you to go wrestle you a prostitute or a whore, but I am telling you that if you're the kind of man that God's called you to be, you could make it work with just about any woman, and she'll follow you to the ends of the earth, and that means she'll follow you straight to God's kingdom. So you better believe it. Anyway, good night, and have more coming down the pike as far as biblical word breakdowns and things like that. So we'll see you in the next one.